Northern Michigan is filled with forests, and when you see patches of red pine trees like this in perfect rows, well, they didn't just appear. It's because of the hard work done by young men about 90 years ago that helped shape Northern Michigan's landscape.
The work they did put the forest like 50 years ahead.
It all started in 1933 when President Franklin D. Roosevelt enacted the Civilian Conservation Corps as part of the New Deal.
It's a system of camps run by the War Department, and you have to be on government assistance, and you have to be a certain age, and you have to be single.
Michigan had about 125 CCC camps, more than most states.
And that really speaks to the conservation need here in Michigan, again, mostly because of the logging era. Our forests had been depleted, our streams were destroyed.
Each camp had about 200 men ranging from age 17 to 23. Their goal to fix what was destroyed by stocking fish, fighting forest fires, and planting trees.
A lot of these are city boys. They've never fought a forest fire, they've never planted trees. So they get into some really tough situations. A lot of it's a lot harder than they expected it to be.
Each day, the young men were expected to plant 1,000 tree seedlings.
Very methodical. They were taught, you take your 3 steps, you use your planting bar, dig your hole, put the tree, close the hole in, take 3 steps, and do it again. Quick, quick, quick.
Making what we see today, these perfect rows of red pine trees.
In patches throughout the state would look a lot different today in 2022 if it hadn't been for CCC reforestation in the 30s.
The CCC has this really important legacy, and it is so important for us as Michiganders. You know, we're the state that we enjoy our forests and our outdoor resources, and most of that is directly linked to the work the CCC did.
And the CCC's legacy goes beyond what you see. Their work influences conservation efforts to this day.
It's fostered a spirit of conservation that was already existing before the CCC in the early 20th century, but it amplified this conservation effort, and conversations about how we interact with the environment, our impacts on the environment, how the environment influences us. Those conversations are useful when we're trying to tackle complex issues such as climate change, as far as habitat loss and other things.
It's estimated 484 million trees were planted through Michigan's Civilian Conservation Corps, the most in any state. Meredith, St. Henry, 9 and 10 News. Kevin, I'm in front of the Lake Osceola State Bank where deputies say the robbery happened. This area is now open but was blocked off for a majority of the day while law enforcement searched the area for the 2 men. As far as they know, the robbers do not have any weapons and they are still looking for them.
At approximately 10:30, we received a call from the Lake Osceola State Bank here located in Luther that they had just been robbed.
The Lake County Sheriff's Office says the 2 men were unarmed.
We believe it's 2 suspects that came into the bank, had handed the teller a note demanding some money, and some transaction was made with the money, and then 2 people left on foot.
The Sheriff's Office says the robbers were wearing sweatshirts and ski masks.
One of the descriptions is that obviously there was somebody one of them was wearing a olive green or sage colored sweatshirt.
Baldwin Public Schools then went into a lockdown because in the same note handed to the teller demanding money, there was a threat to a school.
The actual note that was handed to the teller had made some reference to possibly something like a bomb being at a school. It didn't specify which school it was, so we contacted the neighboring agencies and our schools that are located here and advised them of that, and then we have our protocols that we put into play.
Sheriff Martin believes the threat was not credible and a diversion tactic. Baldwin Public Schools were evacuated.
It's very scary and stressful because as a parent, you send your kids to school thinking that they're safe, and the things that's transpiring in today's world that you see on the news, and then when you hear about events such as this, you don't know the outcome. You can never downplay anything. So it's very stressful.
It should never happen at an innocent school. The kids are just here to learn. They're not here to get violent.
Students were transferred to Yates Township Hall by bus to be reunited with their parents.
You want to go rob a bank or whatever that has transpired and then impose fearful threats upon these kids, and it's making it fearful for them wanting to return to school. I'm very angry and bothered by it myself, as many other parents.
Again, police are still looking for the two men. They do say they don't believe there's any threat to the public, and the Lake County Sheriff's Office says it is safe for students and staff to return back to school tomorrow. Live in Luther, Meredith St. Henry, 9 and 10 News. Andrea, I'm at North Mitchell Street in downtown Cadillac. It hasn't started to rain yet, but within the last 30 minutes, I've seen several snowplows drive by, prepping the roads, and even some utility trucks getting ready for whatever the storm may bring. Coincidentally, 100 years ago tomorrow, northern Michigan experienced one of the worst ice storms in history of the state.
I'm hoping this storm is not what they're predicting by anywhere near 1922. Hopefully that it's 100 years made it a little softer, not as severe.
100 years ago, on February 22nd, 1922, northern Michigan was hit with one of the worst ice storms known to date. The Doppler 9 and 10 weather team says 1 to 2 inches of ice accumulated, with areas receiving up to 4 inches. Pictures of the storm show just how damaging it was to trees, buildings, and power lines in the Cadillac area.
Those pictures are just devastating.
The ice storm has not been forgotten. These are some of the pictures hanging in the Country Kitchen restaurant in Cadillac.
And it's just kind of eerie, like a 100-year cycle. And most of my customers this morning were all talking about it, and many of them had read it. And it just gives you a funny feeling.
100 years later, on the dot, we are expecting another ice storm to hit the same area, and Country Kitchen plans on being open.
Hoping if we have power, we'll be here for people who are out maybe salting, icing, doing what they can. But we hope people, if it's that bad, don't take their life in their hands either.
And I just wanted to show you how much ice we got in 1922 compared to what we were expected to get throughout the next day. In 1922, we got 1 to 4 inches, which you can see here in red. And throughout this storm, throughout the next day, we are expected to get up to a ½ inch, which you can see in blue. Now, it looks like a lot less, but it can still be very damaging. Live in Cadillac, Meredith St. Henry, 9 and 10 News. Scott and Jennifer Wack's love for rocks started decades ago.
So my grandfather used to polish rocks back in the 60s and early 70s before he passed on. And when I met my husband and we decided to move to Michigan, his rock shop was still on the family property, and we thought we should learn how to use this equipment.
And after mastering the necessary equipment,
we've got 6 sets of wheels here. You got to run through all the different grits of the wheels. After all the process is done, the final product, I just find them very beautiful. They're just really nice, and that's after.
they began finding and creating things out of rocks, eventually opening up Northport Trading Post.
He would be tickled pink that we took on this wonderful hobby in God's country, the land that he loved and the land that we love.
A majority of their pieces made out of Petoskey stones.
Living coral at one time, when Michigan was covered with shallow seawater, they were living. There was a period where they got fossilized, and now we find them all over the tip of Michigan.
But finding them isn't easy.
Gotta be quicker than the wave. So if you happen to have one already, and you can put it into the sand along the other rocks and kind of look away and look for it again, it helps you. Looking for a soft gray color, looking for circles, that helps you a lot, because then you'll train your eye to see those circles.
Leland Blue is another one of Scott and Jennifer's favorites.
Leland Blue, that's super tricky. A lot of it is luck.
And where you can go hunting for Leland Blue? Well, in Leland. We're at Vans Beach and we found some.
That is blue. It's such a bright blue that no other rock looks like it. So you're really gonna be drawn to it.
Oh, that's cool. Whoa, blinged out with the
blinged out.
These two veteran rock hunters say they've seen the hobby boom over the last 2 years as more people discover what this couple has enjoyed for years.
There's always something to pick up on the beach. There's always some cool rock or some cool artifact that comes up on the beach.
In Leelanau County, Meredith St. Henry, Michigan this morning.